characters that are sort of that I used to celebrate some of my friends. But those are very mild characters. But the more controversial ones, I take my hands off. They are completely fictional.
Are you sure they're fictional? Are you certain that before you started writing this book, something did not happen and it's stuck in your subconscious, and while writing, that was a chance for you to express and tell about that person? Or maybe
this is how I'll answer that question. Today, my assistant was getting into a taxi to come to work along, and he was robbed in a very sly way. So I asked him to recount the event for me. And I thought to myself, it would be nice to have various scenarios of how people would get robbed in Abuja in my next book. So things that happen in society on a daily basis inspire me to write in a way that we can learn lessons from these things, or basically prepare for these things and just be better. So you're more aware. If you read about 5 different scenarios of how somebody was robbed in a taxi, you probably be able to avoid some of them. So things happen that inspire me, definitely.
So we're expecting a taxi story sometime. I'm not sure what the title will be now, but I'm curious to know how you're able to get into that story.
It will come in somehow. It will come in. For those who have read Maitama Linen, everything is connected to everything, just like the ecosystem of our existence. Nothing is separate from the world. We feed off of each other. There is a cycle. So that's how I write. So the taxi scene might be 1 page, and that's it.
Let's get into the writing process right now and how you were able to develop the characters and the plot. Maybe some challenges you faced while you were doing that.
So let me talk about, I don't take alcohol personally. I don't take weed. I don't take some drugs that I wrote about. So I had to call some of my friends. I called a friend. I was like, so bro, tell me how it feels when you take coke. And he's like, what do you mean? I don't take coke. I'm like, bro, this is research. And he's like, okay, I don't take, but I'll give you someone who takes. So I had to get into the mind of people who do things that I was some of the things I was writing about. Because I don't take alcohol. I've never taken alcohol, but I wrote about the sensation and the feeling. So I had to ask my friends, people around me. I had to watch YouTube videos to basically translate the feeling that those people feel into writing. It's like writing about coke, chasing the high. So there was a lot of research in writing the book, because all the people I wrote about, I hadn't experienced those things. I hadn't been in those positions. So my creativity, I had to elevate it to a point where I would make you believe that it was happening and it was real.
All right, I've got Shehu Yakubu right here. We're streaming live on YouTube and Facebook at Nigeria Info Abuja. You can go onto these platforms to be a part of the conversation. It's book review segment on the sunny side. Today we're looking at the book Maitama Linen, and the subtitle, which gives you an insight into the scandalous lives of Abuja elites. So you might know the story of someone. It's not about the person per se, but then it might be similar. And you're like, oh, I know who this person is. Because again, a lot of people, a handful of Nigerians are very interested in gossip or something that just tickles their fancy. Very much
so. Some people just look at the cover and buy the book.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then when you read it, would it be worth your while?
Absolutely. It's usually better than you expect. Yes, I can promise you this. Whoever's listening or watching, if you buy my book and you don't enjoy it, I'll refund you.
Okay. Now, did you have to make any significant changes or edits whilst you were writing the book? Maybe you got to a point and like, no, this doesn't fit the narrative I'm going for. You had to switch things, switch names, or maybe switch some storylines.
So I did that on a chapterly basis. One of the most challenging chapters for me was an action chapter. The thing about the way I write is I want to suck you in your imagination. I want to bring you to experience what I'm talking about. So writing action is difficult because it's text. You're trying to translate text into images in somebody's head. So I would write and I would read and I would try to feel. If I didn't feel enough, I would rewrite. And I had a sample group, my good friends, Kamal, my wife, my then assistant Malik, my good friend Hanifa. These were my sample groups. So I would send every new page or chapter to them to sample. Of course, I didn't give them till the end, and I would get their reactions. If it wasn't juicy enough for me, if it wasn't hyped enough, I would be like, I need to touch this a bit. But it was a process of me trying to give you a great reading experience, basically.
Now, how do you feel like this book would go on to contribute to literary conversations? Because now African writers are big out there in the market. People want to explore the market and know how well African writers are doing, and maybe encourage more younger writers to come up. But with the book you've written, I'm curious to ask you if we're going to get a prequel or a sequel to it, because it gives that impression. People want to maybe say you would explore other cities or maybe other districts per se, maybe a Sokoro, wherever, anywhere else, or maybe Lagos, for instance, which is another big juicy story point.
Entirely, fully, 100%. I would say I write in a way that gives me flexibility. Each of the characters is rich in their own way. I could write a book I could pick one character from Maitama Linen and write a whole book about the character's life from before a prequel. I could also go ahead. I could also move. The title saying Maitama Linen doesn't mean that Asokoro is not in the book. Asokoro is in the book.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that Dubai is not in the book. Dubai is in the book.
Well represented.
Yes. It doesn't mean London is not in the book. It's in the book. So you're going everywhere you need to go to get what you need to get. But I've got a bunch of stories and a bunch of combinations of scenarios, and I just need a nice holiday to begin to write the next book. Hopefully, I will agree to what the fans are saying and write a sequel of Maitama Linen because they want to know what happens. But
you can't leave people spellbound without giving them the conclusion of the story. You can't just leave us
Let
hanging.
me ask you a question.
Yes.
What's the conclusion of life?
That's a very tricky question.
Very.
And it gives a lot of deep thinking into understanding if indeed there's any conclusion to it.
Yes.
But yeah, back to the book.
There's none. Life is to be experienced. So for me, it's not about how you end it. It's about how you felt while you read it. So I'm tempted to write another book that's completely different and just drag their curiosity. Then maybe some years later, I write a sequel. That's the evil part of
that would be a very long wait. Why would you want to do that to anyone? It's just like, for instance, getting into TV shows, right? You start watching, it draws you in, and then you have to wait 3, 4, 5 years, maybe longer, to get a follow-up, a follow-through to what you've seen before. It's a long wait.
It is, and sometimes it's risky because you lose people's interest. But then writing for me is it's not about the paycheck. It's about you now reading my book, learning something from it, enjoying it. That's enough for me. So I love the art itself. I'm artistic in many ways, and this is just one way of me expressing myself. When I'm sad, I write a poem. When I'm happy, I write a poem. I don't publish these poems, but I write to express myself. So I would say the most commercial thing for me to do is to write a sequel. But my artistic side might not agree with that. Because I'm curious about writing love from... There's an age group I'm looking at, 50 to 60, married people, how they live in love. So there's so many scenarios that I'm researching on that I want to write about, because in your 30s, you have an imagination of how your life is going to proceed in terms of your marital life, or if you're not married, how your love life is going to be as a man, how you're going to handle one lover, or how you're going to repel others, or how you're going to juggle many lovers, as most of them do, as stated in my book.
Who's the them? Who's the them and who's juggling? I mean, with the way the economy is set up right now, anyone who's juggling or doing that, I'm not sure how.
You see, this weather can do crazy things to a person.
Indeed. But now, speaking about juggling, I would like to know how this somewhat, while writing, let's go back in time for a bit, how this affected your relationships, because some writers would literally push back everyone. put themselves away from the world and try to focus on, that creativity because they're trying to avoid whatever distractions might come up. How did you work around your relationships while you were trying to focus on giving your best to the book?
So that was the beautiful part about lockdown for me. We didn't have to see each other. We didn't have to talk too much. Everybody was at home, so I could concentrate. But still, the book is about you. The book is about your society. It's about your family. So you need them. Isolation, if I was isolated, I wouldn't be able to write about scenarios I haven't personally experienced. So the way that I write, let's say, I didn't finish the book in lockdown. So leading up to finishing, I would wake up in the morning right after praying my Fajr. That's the first prayer of the day, 5 a.m. on average. Then I'll take 1 hour or 30 minutes and I would write and start my day usual. So because it wasn't a source of income or my occupation, I would just do it in the time I could, then I would enter back into the world. But even writing the next book, I need to be in society because it's about society. I need to fine-tune the experiences because it's like watching Leonardo DiCaprio act. You doubt his sanity because of how good he is when he acts. So the text has to be as accurate as possible for you to imagine and feel like this is definitely my friend. This is definitely that person. I definitely feel like I've felt this before. So I need people.
Now, seeing that you've mentioned Leonardo, I'm going to get into maybe we should expect a movie out of this book. I'm
totally for it. I have people who've approached me, friends, and I've told them, sure. I said I would like to take some time to learn how to write a manuscript for a movie myself so I could translate to a way that would suit my creativity. I've done video editing before. I've done camera work. I worked in press before, so I sort of understand how things work at that end. And if you're not shooting and imagining the output at the same time, it doesn't come out well. So I'm a bit skeptical to handing it over to someone. Like my book, editing it, I got my friend to do it. He has a professional qualification, but he understands me. So he would come to me and say, I'm changing this word, I'm making this. And we would haggle a bit and would meet in the middle. But it wouldn't lose its essence of what I want it to be. So a movie is very possible. I'm down for it. It might even be a 6-part series for Netflix. Who knows?
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
That sounds really interesting. Yeah. But so this is what we're talking movies and characters. Whoever plays what. Do you have a favorite character in the book? And why? If you've got a favorite one. Or favorite ones, maybe more than one. So
here's how I feel. All the characters are my children because I created them. I don't mean to sound boastful, but I love them for different things. I love them for different reasons. Like me writing about Zainab, her tenacity, her risk-taking, it was exciting for me. Me writing about Aisha, her naivety, her innocence and her curiosity was exciting for me. So every character, me writing about Farida and her independence and the way she beat the societal expectations and she rose above it, I enjoyed every character. So I can't pick a favorite feeling to writing about them, but I'm curious as to anybody's favorite. And your favorite character says a lot about your personality when I ask people. There's something I've also noticed. Because my book is very pro-woman, if you read deeply about a lot of issues that women face in society, one of the most liked characters points to the inadequacies of men in society. Because one of the most liked characters, Farida, she's an independent woman, she's rich. Her husband treated her badly. He abandoned her. Of course, he came back. I will not say everything for those who haven't read. Yeah, but a lot of women loved her character. So it said to me that if these women could escape us as a people, they'll probably escape us. So we probably need to do better so they're not thinking of ways to be rich enough not to need us.
All right, talking about the book, Maitama Lennon, it centers around the lives of Abuja elites, and you might have a character that's your fave or not, but then it tells who you are as a person. I wonder what will be your fave if you go on to read the book eventually. And, I'm curious to, know what you like and what you don't like in the book in terms of what could have been different. But then he's just right here telling us, listen, give the book a chance, read it, and find out who you are. Maybe rediscover yourself.
Yes.
That could be a chance to rediscover yourself if you try it out. But let's get right into the messages you were trying to pass using the book. You spoke about the independence of the lady.
Yes.
What other messages did you explore and try to maybe change the minds of people?
So I spoke about consent as well in one of the earliest chapters. It's sad that as a Nigerian man, I have to say this, but we have this entitlement to women's bodies. Generally, we feel like we can do as we please and get away with it, which we usually do because society is in our rules, so we have the favor. And so women get the shorter end of the stick. So you see how the word shakara is used in society. They would say, she's saying no to me because she's doing shakara, but she wants me. But she might not really want you. She might not be doing shakara. She might just be saying no. So I used a certain scene to explain the consequences and possible ways we think as Nigerian men as to her saying no is for me to try harder. The biology of her body might be accepting my advances, but her mind might not be accepting it. And she might be verbally saying no, but I'm still trying to get there. Because you'd grow up and you'd see drivers harassing housemaids, and the housemaids are saying, don't touch me, but they're touching them and they're laughing. And deep down, some of them are in pain because there's nothing they can do about it. Or you see uncles touching, things happening around, and you can see how this is very normal. You find that a lot of cases where a rapist is caught and they take a picture of them, they don't look remorseful. They just look angry that they were caught because they feel like what they've done, there's nothing wrong about it. Like, I just touched you, so why are you shouting?
How do you get to a point where no means no, which is a message which you're exploring in this book? Wherein someone tells you no, you understand that that is indeed what they want and not an inkling for you to push further or try to convince them otherwise.
I think the best thing to do when you hear no is to stop. Because there's a possibility that the no, a very high possibility that the no means try harder. I want you to try harder. But there's also a huge possibility that it means no. So the risk of it is that if it is the wrong no, then you've probably changed somebody's life from that moment. So it's better if she says no, you leave her, do your own shakara. If she wants you, she'll come back.
Okay, let's take a quick breather right now. We'll come back to talking about the book, Maitama Lennon. We've got Shehu Yakubu right here in the studio. He's the author of the book, and we're exploring various aspects of this book right here, and maybe a good read for the weekend if you decide to consider it. But do all the stay tuned. You can ask questions on YouTube and Facebook at Nigeria Info Abuja. You can also join in via the WhatsApp platform 08099301337. Any questions you want to ask him at all regarding the book? Well, he won't tell you everything, so you can.
I have to make money. I have to pay school fees.
It's school fee season in a few weeks. But let's go on this break. We're right back.
All right.
We must not play politics with security.
Let's talk about the biggest conversations.
Made of trustworthy ideas.
Passionately connected.
To everyone.
Let's talk.
Let's talk on Nigeria Info 95.1 Abuja.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
Audio Jungle.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
Disclaimer there, so like, yeah, everything is fiction.
All right, so let's get into reader engagement and what you feel readers should, debate about once they're done exploring this book. What energy are you hoping to get? It can be different from, between different people or amongst different people, but what are you hoping readers will be able to experience from reading the book?
So ask yourself questions about the choices that the characters made. There's a character in the book that did her bum, and
that's a BBL. And I heard
Yes.
someone passed on recently in Lagos from
they're
doing
always
that.
dying, even globally, like, even in the countries who do them the best. People die regularly. So, but in society, there's a high return on investment on BBL. But then what's the long-term cost for that ROI in the short term? So there's a character who did that BBL and she progressed financially, but she was blinded by the facade of society's extravagance that she forgot what truly mattered to her. And the character is such a brilliant character that she could have channeled her brilliance into doing far more with her life. So you will ask yourself, this energy, this brain, it's like you buy a piece of furniture from IKEA and it's you have to assemble it yourself. So when you pray to God and you say, God, give me wealth, God has given you intelligence, God has given you access, God has given you good looks to make people like you easily. God has given you tools to enter society. But if you decide to use those tools for evil, it's on you. If you decide to use those tools for good for you. So you don't have to. I want people to see from this specific character that your intelligence, your gifts can be used in more positive lights for you to shine in ways that your shine doesn't have to dull because of time or age.
But there's that pressure from society to be a certain way or to have achieved a certain thing at a certain age. So for instance, there's a belief that once you're 30, you should have your life figured out, even though a lot of 30-year-olds have pretty much worked themselves through the 20s. And at 30, you just realize that it's about what you really want for yourself and not what the world wants for you. Many have been able to figure that out, not a handful have. But still, the pressure from society pushes people to doing these things. And I read about a story, a real life situation which shared by someone who had a savings of 10 million naira. And she explored the BBL, as referenced in your book. And many gave excuses for her, saying, oh, that's an investment. She might go on to make way more than that.
Yes.
Or could have used the funds to start a business and do something else as opposed to exploring the route of enhancing her body.
Yes. I mean, as you've said, even I have heard of, there are people who've done BBLs and they've gotten rich very quickly because people who patronize those BBLs are paying. You know, people who are taking from the coffers of our state funds to fund those bills are paying well. But there are people on those BBLs as well and have not got ROI. Some people, it didn't go, shape isn't fantastic. That 10 million now could be used for far more. The problem with a subject like the BBL is, for how long can you sustain that? Now, for men, we could look better with time and become more desirable with time. For women, they have a time frame where they are at the peak of their beauty. And let's say you're 20 and then you do a BBL and you get to enjoy the maximum of it till you're 28, 29, maybe early 30s. And then what happens? What happens then? But if you use that 10 million and you buy a product and you sell this product online, you build a business, you build an empire, even if you die, what you have built, people with who you leave behind can carry it on.
But the argument would be that the country is not necessarily favorable for a handful of businesses. We've seen in recent times businesses shut down because they're not able to meet up with the times. So an excuse will be, as opposed to maybe in quote right now, wasting that money and losing that business eventually, might as well do it and put it into something I can see.
Yes. Yes, as you said, see.
I'm just getting into your head right now. I mean, I could be giving you like.
I'm with you. I'm just. I'm with you. Now, when you say some businesses, every business is suffering. Every business is suffering. It's like you're swimming and the tide of the water is not much, so you swim. Your strokes are taking you further, or you're swimming and the tide of the water is heavier and heavier, and as you're pedaling, you're not moving anywhere because the water is fighting you. That's what we're experiencing people. So you have to work 3, 4, 5 times as hard as you were working before to make what you were making before. So it doesn't mean that success is impossible. You just have to put in more work because you are working against so many more things now. You're working against the currency. You're working against the high electricity tariffs. You're working against the food inflation and the transportation inflation, and then you're calculating at the end of the day what's left for me. I was teasing a friend today. She said her husband likes yam and she made yam twice yesterday. I said, you guys are rich, oh.
Because it's really expensive to buy tuba.
You're rich. You're rich.
No.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you survive the tough time, you play the long game. But if you pick the easy option, you might enjoy it now. You can see that bum now, right now in this moment. Your boyfriend will say, thank you for making this investment for me, or your sugar dad. And then
we don't advocate for that, but we get your point. Let's get into the reading culture real quick. How to improve on the reading culture. A lot of people, are so caught up with their mobile devices that reading a book could be a struggle for them. Being spellbound, being held spellbound by that book. What are maybe clues or
so let me give
ways
you
to
what happened to me. When my wife was actually afraid for me when I told her my book title. She didn't tell me until much later, but she thought that society would attack me and all of that. But I said, see, if I call this book Change in Society, Vices in Society, nobody's going to read it, because who reads anyway in this generation? I have to make it so spicy and so juicy that they want to know because they think I'm talking about them, which I may be, I may not. I can't confirm or deny.
You don't want people to say that. You know the answer to that already, but yes, I'll let you go on.
But then, for me, what I did was I used the title. So I have readers who have reached out to me and said, I haven't read a book since secondary school, but I read and I finished your book. I have someone who said to me, I'm 33 years old. I've never finished a book. This is the first book I'm finishing. Thank you. And I have people who said, after reading your book, I went on to buy other books. So what writers need to do now is they need to catch up with the trend of understanding how the current generation who are ignoring books are thinking and how to get them interested in the books. Topics that excite them, titles that excite them, because we have to re-encourage them to get back to books. So my title, Bait You and Get You, you think you're going to get gist, which you might, but there's way more substance in the book than there is gist.
Well, there's gist. The title is gist enough. It just lets you know there's something in there. There's somebody that you know that's whose story has been told.
And it could be you, the reader.
Well, not me, but maybe you when you go on to read the book. Well, so quick advice before I let you go for young writers. You know, you've told them to maybe explore other options, titles, way to draw readers into it. But the market might not be favorable for somebody who's just starting off, and they want to be able to figure it out and be able to understand the mindset of the average reader, those who are either starting off or those who are big on reading. What ways can they give their best without being overwhelmed and not losing too much funding into trying to sell that book and push that book out there?
So I thank God every day that I'm able to financially pursue some of my dreams. So I wrote this book, even though I borrowed the laptop from my wife. I wrote.
Did she get a share of the proceeds from the book?
She's enjoying it in some ways.
That's not the answer to the question, but okay, if you insist, we'll go with that.
So the thing is, I decided to print my book in Turkey, publish it in Turkey, and I fly my book in on air cargo. So it's expensive, but I'm pleased with the outcome. And I did a book launch that cost me a ton of money. But the thing is, I made my money back instantly and more. But that's me who can afford it. But if I couldn't be able to afford it, what would I do? Like my next book, I want to make it cheaper than this current book. By the way, I'm working towards that because some people said, some people before they read the book, they said, why should I pay 15K? After they read it, they never said that again. But for those who say that, my next book will be cheaper. But here's what I could have done. During lockdown, I could have released the book in pieces for free to get people interested to a point where they want to know what's next. Then I'll drop the full book. You can publish in Nigeria. My problem was, apart from quality, I didn't trust the people around not to leak my book.
That was a concern for you?
That was a concern for me.
But I mean, you could have had an NDA signed.
Now, let me play a scenario for you. Nigerian staff are very interesting. You own a publishing company. You can't be there 100%. You can have cameras, but you can't watch all the footage 24 hours. And you give your staff to print this book. They might have to edit it, retouch it, move it. And this book is interesting. Everybody's asking. They could easily just take the PDF version and put it in a flash and give their girlfriend from work, or have this book not show anybody. Their girlfriend tell her friends, see, my boyfriend gave me, because he's working with the publishing press, so if it gets caught, he'll have a problem, but I've sent it to you on WhatsApp. From that WhatsApp, that friend will forward it to another person. So an innocent favor will turn to your book being shared on WhatsApp.
Telegram.
Thank you.
Because we see full-length movies.
Didn't you see Tony Abraham?
Exactly.
Her movie that was shared on Telegram, and she was running mad. I saw it and I felt so much pain for her, because I was like, if this is me, I go and die, because this is my life's work. Not my life's work, but a period of my life. But I put in work into this, and you just want to release it for free from your bedroom or wherever. So there's no way you can control piracy. My book will be pirated. My book will end up on WhatsApp. But I want to make it a bit difficult for you. Let it take some time. So I wanted to take it far out of the reach of the people that I didn't trust. But if I couldn't have, there are printing presses in Nigeria you can use, and online has made life easy for you. You can open your page on Instagram and you can post your story daily and get people excited. So there's a way you can engage and build a community around it, especially as a young tech-savvy person. Before you say, okay, now I'm finally writing a book, you can pre-order one. Let me use those funds to print some copies, or come to the book launch. Or now that you're interested, okay, I'm going to raise this money and invest. I have a pitch, because I have a followership. I have a pitch that I can give to someone. Okay, I have 5,000 people reading this series I'm writing every day. If we can do 500 copies and test the market, we can sell it. You just have to be willing to kill yourself to get something done. But good things don't come for free.
All right. Before we let you go, when should we expect your next book? I'm going to put you on the spot right now. I'm curious to know, I mean, Itodo is not good, might not be a sequel, but still, how long do we have to wait?
I've told my friends.
On their behalf, I'm asking you again.
I've told them they should just send me a ticket. Let me go to London for a month and just write, run, exercise, write, eat. I'll come back with a fresh book. I'm just looking for the right holiday because Nigeria is currently overwhelming for me. If I get the right holiday, I can actually finish the next book in a month. So those of you who are listening to me and you want that book,
you know what to do.
Just ask for my account number.
Thank you very much, Shehu Yakubu. I'm the author of Abuja Linen, The Lives of Scandalous Abuja Elites. That's
Maitama Linen, The Scandalous Lives of Abuja Elites.
That's it, exactly. And read a book this weekend. Find something to...
You will not die if you read a book.
To engage yourself this weekend. And we hope that you're able to, learn a thing or two. Find ways to keep yourself inspired. Really, really important. Any final words?
Life is short, but then those decisions that you make can make this short life a very painful and excruciating one. So think twice.
All right.
Enjoy my book.
Thank you very much for coming through today. We hope to have you back when that new book is done with. But
after they funded me to travel and write it,
these guys.
I think you should take it upon yourself to open this GoFundMe for this next book. They'll pay. Let's get this book out.
Okay.
Myself, I want to travel.
Good. I do want to have a great weekend. Thank you for coming through.
My pleasure.
This is Nigeria Info.